Is Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles a remaster that lives up to the Tactics legacy? Will Square Enix release a game in the near future whose title isn't at least 15 syllables long? Let's talk about it. Hey friends, it's Just the Gems, I'm Brandon, and I just got home from PAX, like literally an hour ago. Yes, PAX West 2025 just wrapped up in Seattle, Washington, and I think it's safe to say I have never been so tired in my life as I am right now. But that is not going to stop me from talking about Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles, because what I've played so far has me hyped. Okay, quick recap on what's going on in case you're not up to speed. Final Fantasy Tactics came out ages ago on the PlayStation, a system from such a bygone era that it didn't even have a number in its name. It sort of defined the tactical genre, especially in the US, since I'd say we received far fewer tactical RPGs compared to Japan. It's a super beloved game, and I stunk at it. Yeah, I talk about how bad I am at video games all the time. It's a very funny haha joke, but in this case, it's really serious. I was not good at this game when it came out. Now, to be fair, I was a kid, and it is not playing around. Tactics is all about super strategic battles and micromanaging your troops to create the perfect squads, but it's also about telling a super compelling story, and I unfortunately missed most of that because I could barely make it through Chapter 1. So fast forward to today, and we're ready to look at Square Enix's fully re-realized version of the game, the Ivalice Chronicles. What we're going to get here is something that I think a lot of people are going to like. Not just longtime fans of the game, but newcomers, and I'm pretty confident people like me who bounced off the original. Real quick, thanks to Square Enix for inviting me out to play an hour-long demo of the game, and it's because of that I'm reasonably confident in saying this is going to be good. The Ivalice Chronicles gives you a choice right off the bat. Do you want to play in classic mode, or do you want the enhanced Ivalice Chronicles version? The classic mode is exactly what it sounds like. It's the old PlayStation game running on your brand new 2025 console. Or at least a pretty darn impressive recreation of that original game, depending on how much of the source code and graphics assets Square Enix still had on a hard drive somewhere. The only major difference from the original in classic mode is that it's using the revised version of the game's script, since the PS1 version definitely needed a lot more time in the oven. But I'm mostly here to talk about the Ivalice Chronicles remastered version because that's the thing that's going to get me into this. Let's start with the graphics. It can be a tricky thing to take sprites on simple 3D backgrounds and make them look good on modern screens. It can end up looking too smooth and uncanny, like an N64 game gone wrong, or more wrong, depending on how you feel about the N64. But anyway, they seem to have sidestepped that problem here by giving the characters and backgrounds a sort of watercolor sketch appearance. And even more than that, it almost looks like the art and characters are drawn on something like textured paper. It's a very, very pretty look. So the graphics are pretty without drastically changing the look of the original game, which is very cool. But what about the story? Well, I don't think anyone would have thought poorly of them if they had just given us a refreshed script and called it a day, but they've gone way above and beyond by including full voice acting. You know your boy loves voice acting. This makes such a big difference, you guys. I always sort of liked the Shakespearean style dialogue in theory, but just reading it in my head always carried with it this sense that I'm doing my English homework, and I never liked doing my English homework. Why did I major in English? But hearing these incredibly talented actors reading these lines, it lends the whole experience so much freaking gravitas. It elevates the story presentation several levels, and I'm so grateful it's in here. Ben Starr and Harry McIntyre, among so many others, this is an all-star cast. I love it. Of course, I've only had a very limited experience with the game. I was able to play the intro and one battle a bit later in the game to get a sense of things. But based on those small cross-sections, I think things are shaping up really well on the story front. Now, on the gameplay side, this is where Square Enix really had its work cut out for it if they wanted to win me over. I've said many times on this channel that I'm not the biggest tactical RPG fan because I find them to be too hard and the battles in general to just take too long. It often feels like story is minimized in favor of pure strategy and combat, but that does not seem to be the case here. The game plays so much better than I remember it, and I think that's for several reasons. For one, you no longer have to dig through menus to see the turn order. It's right there on the side of the screen at all times. You can set characters to auto battle if you want to let them do their thing while you focus on specific others. And you can have a spell focus on either an enemy or a tile that an enemy is standing on, meaning if the enemy leaves the tile before your spell gets cast, you can still have it target that same area to get other enemies who might be nearby. To be honest, I can't remember for sure if that was an option in the original game or not. I think it was, but let me know in the comments if I'm remembering wrong. Either way, I love that feature. But above and beyond all that, the game has 3 difficulty options now: Squire, Knight, and Tactician. Having talked with some other creators who played the demo, we all seem to agree that the standard difficulty, Knight, does actually feel a bit easier than the original game. So for anyone that's looking for a substantial challenge, you're probably going to want to go straight for Tactician. But for those of us who just want to experience the story, finally, after all these years, being able to lower the difficulty even further is a godsend. Literally. Not literally. The gods didn't send this, Square Enix did. Moving on. One other aspect of the gameplay that's taking cues from more modern tactical games is the ability to create loadouts for your characters. I believe you can do up to 3 loadouts for a character where you assign them a job and all their various abilities, and you can save that and then quickly swap between them prior to a battle. That's so much easier than having to manually assign them all those elements every time you want to switch it up. And maybe one of my favorite new design choices is the ability to undo a move. Other games, please make note of this. Like previously, if you wanted to move a mage forward and cast a spell, you'd move them into position, select your spell, and often you'd find you just couldn't target all the enemies you wanted to because you moved one tile too far or something. Now you can just reset your move, go back and make it properly the second time. This is huge for me. I don't know if other tactical games do this. Like I said, I don't play a ton of them, but in my limited experience, I don't recall this being a thing. Like once you've locked in your move, I feel like it's typically locked in, and then you can do other actions, but you've moved already at that point. So I love this for this game, regardless of what other games do it. I just love this so much for this game. And all in all, this is just super promising. I'm going to say I'm cautiously optimistic. Optimistic because all the changes and updates make me think this is going to be extremely playable for people like me who are, less interested in a hardcore challenge and more interested in a good story. Cautiously optimistic because, look, I've been burned by tactics games before. Once bitten, twice shy, as they say. But anyway, what do you think about Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles, at least from what you've seen so far? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye.